Oh, hi. Hello there. How are you? I'm John Solo. Welcome to John Solo's Beard Brigade. There's some intro I normally do, and I can't fucking remember. It's been one of them weeks. Hello. Um, it's so the joke message in here today is what day is it? And it's because literally I was confused earlier today. I was like, I took a nap to reset my voice, and I set an alarm for 4 o'clock. Woke up and didn't remember why. And then I'm just fumbling around. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's showtime today. Woo! So, anyways, I was telling our guest that I specialize in flying by the seat of my pants, which seems to me that it's kind of been that week this week. And yeah, anyways, so this week, we have one more week of me working solo, as the case may be. Tracy has been hitting me up like for the last week and a half now, like, is everything okay? You're not firing me, right? But no, Trace, don't you chill out. It's just fine. We're going to be okay. I'm just trying to get shit done before we leave on a jeeping vacation here, which is going to be 4 days, 5 days, something like that. We're leaving this Saturday. And we're going to be out in the middle of the wilderness for a week, which is going to be a ton of fun. And Trace says, dude, I'm chill. She stressed the chill part there. We're going to be gone for about a week. Then we will be back in town for, I guess, about 10 days, somewhere in there. My best friend is flying in from Germany on the 12th, and she's going to be staying with us until we leave for GRL. That's coming up here very soon. So this week we are working on what's the one I'm working on today? Breakthrough. That's Anna Ashley. That's the second one in her series, Dad's Still Order series. Then we are working on another Christmas story. This one is Lita Blake, and I haven't had Lita Blake on my screen in quite a while, so that's going to be a ton of fun too. And yeah, we're pressing to get those done. Then we're out of here for our vacation. So that's pretty much it. Everyone that normally follows me in Discord, don't worry, we're going to be back. I would imagine we're going to be back the week in between my Jeeping adventure and GRL, because I think that I have a dual narration for Tantor that I have to do that week. So more than likely we'll be back to regular streaming and all that good stuff. Now, we do not have a Talk to the Beard episode coming up until, I believe, October 10th. And that is a makeup session with Morgan Bryce. She's going to be coming back to see us. She's always a ton of fun, too, so that's going to be cool. So, I think that's it. Everybody else all right? You all good? I see all the regulars are here, plus we got a bunch more. Hey, Scotty. Haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully all is well. Yeah, so we're ready to roll. Now, we had a technical glitch before the show started today, because it rarely happens. I had a driver update on my audio interface. I know all you all are tech heads like me, and you'll care about that. So hopefully everything works out all right here. We have a first-time guest on today, and also a new client to us. We just started working for this gal a couple months ago. So here we go. I give you Riley Nervous Hart. How are you, Riley?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Now, we've seen each other at conventions, but I never actually had you on the show before. And I actually asked Trace like a few minutes beforehand. I was like, have we had Riley on? Because I'm familiar with you. But she
Yeah.
said, nope. I need some sort of searchable database for the show because we've done so many of them at this point. And I think it was, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, I had a guest on. I do my little prep beforehand, where you're in the green room and we're chatting away. I'm giving her all the laydown. This is how the show works. We come on, they won't be able to see or hear you initially. A couple minutes in it, she goes, John, I've been on the show twice. I was like,
Yeah,
motherfucker.
that sounds like something. Yeah, that sounds like something I would do.
Yeah. And like once we get into a conversation, I immediately remember. But damn, it's like like when you go to like GRL, right? And there's a
Yeah.
thousand faces, and you meet 1,000 people, and you don't make the connection. There's so much
You
going
know
on.
someone. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That happens to me a lot. So speaking of GRL, are you going to be making it this year?
Yes, I will be there.
Ta-da! Are you
Yeah, I'm
you
excited.
you're registered as an author and all that? You're on your table and everything?
Yeah. Yep. I think I'm
Excellent.
like the second session on Saturday or something like that.
It's crazy to me that they have to do multiple sessions now, it makes sense. It used to get really, really super crowded. Have they always done multiples? It seemed to me like they only had like one
No,
big
well,
one.
they did 2 different days before, and so they had, like, the, author, and then they called it something else, and I don't remember what it was, um, but then they had those authors on, like, Thursday, and then they would do the other ones on Saturday. So,
Okay.
I don't really know why I think that I like it better this way. I mean, I haven't even been yet, but I think it's nice to have them both on one day like that, because especially I don't feel like everybody always goes that early on Thursday, so
Yeah, it just we normally have, and we get to have it again this year. We normally have an event like on Wednesday night for the narrators, and we do
Mhm.
like a live reading and shit. So as a narrator, I'm always there early. But they used to do something weird with us with narrators, where they had like I think they called it industry professionals, which is so
Uh,
we're like narrators and editors and stuff, and they would like all set up a table. So the last year we did that, there was I think it was 2019. I had to set up a table in the industry professional room, and it's a like a small room with super high vaulted ceilings because it's the convention setup, right?
mhm.
There was like four of us narrators, and then like Courtney had a table set up for editing services and that sort of deal. The problem is that they had it like directly before our live reading. Now you know how many people get in those little rooms, and it's kind of
Mhm.
crowded, and pretty soon you're talking like this really loud to talk over somebody else, and then they want you to do a live reading after you've done
And
that
then
for an
you
hour and a
can't,
half.
yeah, you lost your voice, yeah.
Completely, dude, completely. It was
Yeah.
not a
I always
good
lose my
strategy.
voice just after the signings too from talking so much, so
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah.
last year we did a. We were in St. Louis, so my lovely TNA Tracy Johns, she lives in St. Louis. She has a house there because she lives there. And
Yes,
we,
sir.
yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? We had a little party over there, and I took my guitar, and we were playing some songs and singing. This was 2 or 3 days into the convention, and I got like three songs in, and I was like, motherfucker, I don't have a voice. Like I can barely talk,
Yeah.
let alone sing.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, that makes sense.
it's the way it works. So I got a lovely email from you the other day saying that you're going to have another book for me here soon.
Yes, I can't wait. I It was supposed to be it's the second book too, Only for the Weekend. It was supposed to be a single title, but obviously that didn't happen. But I really, really, really love this couple, and I really can't wait to hear what you do with it.
Well, I'm excited about it. You were obviously a new client to me, and
Mhm,
it's always like a roll of the dice. We do some kind of qualifying before I accept a client. We'll
mhm.
either me or my wife or Trace will read over the first at least chapter or so of the book, and we'll make sure that it's well written, well edited. Those are two of my biggest
Yeah,
concerns. And I also want to
good,
make sure
yeah.
that I can make a connection to the story and that sort of deal. So we did
Mhm.
that, but it's still hard to tell. Like you don't really know until you get into the materials. So you do, you know, well, it doesn't suck, but am I going to actually like it?
Yeah.
Your book, Only for the Weekend, I absolutely connected with,
Oh,
and
thank
so
you.
did the crowd as well. No, everybody liked it a lot. You're a welcome addition to the stable. Anytime you want anything, you just let me know. But I didn't expect a second one either. We actually labeled it in our pre-production notes as a one-off,
Yeah.
and then come to find out, dope, ta-da!
Yeah, see, yeah. I'm not I always say that it's only gonna be 1 book, but it rarely ever happens that way, so
Well, so how did the process work here? Was it one, the characters
Well,
really spoke to you, or two, did it sell a shit ton?
no, it was just that they spoke to me. It was a cousin that I'm very much kind of like a pantser, like with a lot of stuff outside of the couple. So I didn't even know this guy had a cousin until his cousin showed up in the book, Sam's cousin.
Hmm.
And then I just him and Sutton, just there was something about them, their connection, and I was super curious. And as I was writing that book, their story kind of started to unfold for me, but I was like, no, I have a million things. Like, I have the 4 book series that I want to write, and I have so many other things. I'm like, no, 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 I just can't. And so I just kept telling myself I wasn't going to. But I'm very much a mood writer. I am not. I can't if I'm not feeling something. Even if I'm supposed to be doing it, I can't do it because it's my art. It's not really how I work.
Hmm.
And so I started something else, and I was just like, nope, this isn't where I want to be. And so I went over and started their story, and boom, there it was.
The that interests me the way that you operate. Now, a lot of writers are pansters, and I'm very accustomed to that. But are you writing full time, or are you doing this? Do you have a day job as well?
Oh, full time, yeah. I write
That's
full time.
that means that this is normally what I see from full time writers is I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write from 9 o'clock until 1 o'clock. I have a word goal. It might happen or not, but this is my writing time. This is where I'm going to go, which is sometimes difficult when you're kind of waiting for the muse to strike, the muse to hit. That would mean that you probably have quite a few different books that you're working on at once. Is that how that works?
Well, and I mean, I'm very scheduled with my day like that. Like I treat my job like I work outside of the home and I have to show up every day. Like, if I was going out to work, I couldn't be like, I don't feel like working today. So I'm very much scheduled in that. And usually most of the time I only work at one book at a time unless one of them's a collab. Then I can do that because I don't have it all the time. So when they have the book, then I'll do my own thing or whatever. But for me, it's just once I'm in the book, like I'm in it. So if I'm not in it, I might work, on this book today and I'm just not feeling it. And then I might try it again tomorrow and I'm still not feeling it. So then I might try something else, and then I might go a week or two kind of that flip flopping. But then once something like really connects, then I'm just off. And I'm very much um once I'm in it, like I said, I'm in it. I don't usually I've been pretty lucky to not deal with, like, writer's block on a regular or anything like that. Certain books I have, but I'm pretty good with just getting my words in every day and getting it finished.
I've been struggling with that process, and it's one of the reasons why I've, over the course of the last few weeks, things have kind of been crazy around here. Where I'm taking almost 3 weeks off in October, which is I've never done it before. I've been working
Mhm,
full time at this for a decade. Most I've ever taken off in a row is a week. This is a week off, a week back, and then 2 weeks off, and it's so.
mhm,
I'm trying something different. I've been very much it might not be exactly at noon or 1 o'clock when I sit down in the booth, but typically I get 4 to 6 hours in every day booth time. Then the rest is back in time, admin time. And
mhm.
I was getting bored. To be quite honest with you, I was just getting kind of
Um,
burned out and bored with the process of
mhm,
it. I probably have ADHD. I've said this a number of times on the show. I don't. I'm also a recovering addict, so I can't take any. I'm not going to take. Give me some speed,
yeah,
please. I would just be
yeah,
cutting it up and
yeah.
snorting it in here. No, I'm fine. That would be me in a heartbeat. So
I could do it. Yeah.
exactly. It's medicine, man. That'd be the greatest. That'd be like the golden ticket for somebody like me. So I'm trying to kind of flip it on its head and use it. So for instance, the last week, what I've been doing is when I get locked into the project and I start to really feel the characters, I just keep on fucking going. I work for 4 hours. I lay down and take a 2 hour nap to reset my voice, jump right back in. It's a very irregular schedule, but I end up cranking 10 finished hours in 2 days, where I'm just balls to the walls, you know? Do you do that?
And see, I can do that too when I'm really into a book. I can definitely do that, and I was like that with A Million Little Moments is what it's called. I was definitely like that with them to where I have two kids. Well, one's 18. I keep calling her a kid, but
It's
she's
still a
not.
kid.
But
She's still a kid.
yeah, I know. Like she's. Anyways, but I have two, and so I usually, they go off. She goes to work, and my youngest goes off to school. So I usually use that time. And so that's kind of why I keep it that way. But when I'm really feeling something, then I am the type that very much will disappear to my bedroom in the evening to write more. Or, I sit out on my back porch. I mean, they're teenagers. They don't care. They don't need, they don't want my attention half the time anyway. So I will definitely do that and sit out there and I can write, end up writing 6, 7, 8,000 words in a day because I just keep going. Usually, if I'm bored for me, then I know that I'm not working on the right project, unless it's just like a random day here or there, because sometimes you just don't really feel like doing what you're doing.
Hmm.
Um, but I have to remind myself, like you said, take time off. I rarely, rarely ever do that. And my husband's always like, the other day I was like, I'm bored. Let's go out to breakfast. And it was a work day. And he's like, what? Who are you? What'd you do? I went because I don't do that. And I was like, yeah, I just didn't feel like it. He said, it's okay to do that. But I don't know. I like feel guilty. But I think also it's my hobby. And like I'm like, if I'm not writing, what the heck else am I gonna be doing too?
Hmm.
So I would rather be writing than most things.
Yeah, I would much rather be recording is it's not necessarily audiobook narrating. I love being a narrator. It's my
Mm,
passion, but recording in general, I've had a passion for recording anything since I was a kid. Just
mhm,
fascinated me to no end. So if I'm recording something in a day, I'm a happy man. That locking in, though, it surprised me also when you said you were mostly a pantser with the locking in thing. The one book that I've read from you, because you paid me to read it. It's a good setup, by the way. Um,
Yeah, I'm sure.
the one book I've read was very patient. It would be a very good word to describe it. It was not a slow burn as far as they fucked pretty
Mhm.
quickly. That was kind of the arrangement in the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a relationship slow burn where they took a long time to develop. It's that patience.
Yeah.
I normally don't see that at a pansters.
No, and I tend to, not all the time, but I tend to kind of work that way. I am very much into character development and relationship development. I don't I kind of, for me personally, I have a hard time writing, like, jumping right into it unless the relationship part, unless there's history,
Hmm.
and then I feel like you can. But I love that journey for me. I love those, denying feelings. I love those moments where you lock eyes across the room, or those accidental touches or on purpose touches that, are
Hmm.
just the briefest. I love those moments. The build up for me is kind of where it's at.
Well, and that's for most people. That's how relationships work in real life. It felt
Yeah.
very real, very natural, very organic. Um, I've
Mhm.
been missing a bunch of comments here. I'm scrolling back, guys. I'm sorry. I was locked into the conversation here. First off, Melissa Gramling said she loves your Havenwood series. Then, of course, she said Kale did an amazing job.
Oh, thank
That
you.
that fucking Kale. Every time he comes out with an audiobook, I lose my crowd for like 3 days. He has
You you're really great. He's really great too. I've worked
he's
with him
fantastic.
a lot.
Dude,
Yeah,
he's a good friend. He's a hell of a good guy.
yeah,
Super nice. But
yeah.
on top of that, he's
Very
an
good guy.
amazing narrator. So the Havenwood series, I'm not familiar with that. Tell me about that.
Small town. I do tend to do a lot of small town. It's a group of four friends, which is actually something I do a lot. I love writing friendships. And so it's just, small town, real. That's kind of my thing. That's what you mentioned, that it felt real and organic. Actually used to be part of my tagline. I kind of like that realism. So it's just a lot of my stuff. I think it's probably everyday life, like normal people just falling in love.
The contempt side. So you're not doing it like shifter impreg or anything like that. Not really your bag.
um, no, I never have. I do have a I don't even know. I've been calling it a fantasy. I don't even know if that's what I should call it. That I wrote in 2021. I wrote like the very beginning of 2021. I wrote like 30,000 words in like 10 days. Like I was obsessed with this book. And then I was like, oh, like, what do I do now? Like I couldn't finish it and I had no idea how. And now it's been sitting there at 30,000 words for a year. Um, so I would love to finish that one day, and I really, really like vampires, so I would love to do that, but I haven't braved those things yet.
What's your ideal vampire?
It's
Are the
not.
sparkly vampire, the not sparkly vampire,
No, no, I like them kind of bad. I also like, there was an NF series from forever ago, it might still be going, but he was my favorite. His name was Bones, and it was the Night Huntress series, if I remember correctly, from Janine Frost, and Bones was probably my favorite vampire ever. But I
well,
really can't wait for Interview with the Vampire 2 coming out, so
I saw obviously I've not seen the previews yet, but I've heard a bit about the redoing of it. See, when I loved Interview with the Vampire, absolutely fantastic. Lestat was my all-time favorite. In fact, the book Lestat was one of my all-time favorites. It was amazing. Loved it to death when I was a kid. Even though Anne Rice is a bit flowery at times, and I swear to God she used a
mhm.
ghostwriter after 3 or 4 of them because there was just such a change up in style. It just could not have been her. But I digress. When that first came out, I was like, Tom Cruise, really? What the fuck, really? How? Looking back at it now, I think he did a great job. At the time, even on
Yeah,
first viewing, I thought it fucking sucked. I was like, if anything, flip him, man. Just the physical descriptions, flip him. Brad Pitt should fucking not be.
yeah.
Brad Pitt should be Lestat. Come on, please. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not. So, what's your opinions? Brad Pitt,
Well,
Tom
I mean,
Cruise?
also, well, let me say first, I actually never read the book. So,
No shit.
but no, I know. I only saw the movie, but I'm not really a Tom Cruise fan at all. So, and Brad Pitt is sexy as hell, so I probably would have gone, either way.
I have no doubt. Brad Pitt is
But yeah, I don't.
well, I was
Oh, go
checking
ahead.
out Brad Pitt's pictures in this is gonna sound so fucking vain, all right? But my wife and I started lifting weights about 6 months ago, and I'm never going to be a big weightlifting guy. It's just not going to fucking happen. But we're trying to be healthy. I'm
Mhm,
45. You got to kind of maintain your muscle mass at this point, otherwise you're going to be a little decrepit old
mhm.
man, and I don't want to do that. So, and I'm looking at pictures of Brad Pitt from Fight Club, and he's got his shirt off, and he's ripped,
Oh
man,
my
fucking
god, yeah.
ripped. And I'm looking
Yeah.
at it, and and like I took that in and showed my trainer. I was like, I think in a couple years, I think
This
I
is
can
what I
hit.
want.
Exactly. He's like holding up the picture next to me, like squinting one eye.
Uh,
It did not go
it
well,
can
by the way.
happen.
Yeah, sure it could. I mean,
Uh,
I, I think I'd have to
yeah.
start cocaine again. I think that would have to.
No, my husband, he works out. He loves that stuff, and he's like in the CrossFit cult. I tease him and call it a cult. But I just because I'm 42, and I'm like I need to get healthy, and so I just had him. We just went for the first time this weekend, like him going with me, and I made him like do everything and show me how to, we worked arms, and so now we got to go back and do legs next week. So I'm trying that too, to start getting healthy and lifting weights and doing cardio and all that stuff. So we'll see.
It's a trip. We started.
Uh,
Well, you see, I started light, and I started like 4 years ago now, somewhere in there. I used to
mhm,
weigh. Um, I've talked about this on the show before, but I used to weigh 260 pounds when I first I sobered up a little over 6 years ago, and I was 260 pounds. I'm just about 6'1", so I didn't look
mhm,
huge. I certainly felt huge. I remember at one
yeah.
point I ran out of breath trying to tie my shoes. I remember that moment where I was like, "This
Mm,
is something's got to change." Okay, so
yeah.
these days I float about 175, 180. I've lost a substantial amount of weight, and when
Hmm.
we started, it was initially it turns out that just not drinking a half gallon of vodka a day will lose a little bit of weight. That
Well, imagine that.
it's amazing. But then after that, I started into yoga and just calisthenics at the house. So I did a lot of push-ups. I did my best friend and I started this challenge with we call her Devil Ting. Her name's Chloe Ting. It's an online deal, and we started this very close to the pandemic, right before and then into the pandemic. And they're like
Mhm.
20 to 30 minute calisthenics sessions in the house where you're doing mad amounts of burpees and shit like that. And it's really just almost all cardio. It helped though. Then I went
Mhm.
to a lot of yoga. Then I started jogging, which is a bad fucking idea, but I do it and I
Yeah,
actually kind of enjoy it.
same.
Dude, your knees just kill
I
you after that.
wish I did though. I really would love that. I would love to find something that I enjoy, like a workout that way,
Hmm.
something that I'm not like, oh my God, I have to go do this. He loves CrossFit. I, have to force myself to go work out. I
Yeah,
just do.
sure. Well, it hurts
So
at
I
first,
wish I
man.
tried it. Yes, it does. And it's just, I thought the jogging thing, but like maybe if I got into a little bit better shape before, because it might be nice then to have like some time by myself to listen to a book or whatever. But I think at this point, until I get in the shape, I definitely am not going to be jogging.
Well, something I did for about a year there was swimming. Do you like to swim at all?
Mhm.
Um,
No,
no, not your thing either.
I'm the worst. No,
I liked it because I
I'm
didn't.
like basically.
Well, I
I
didn't
like to
like
sit
to
on my computer.
like getting sweaty sucks. That's what I didn't like. I
No,
didn't like.
I don't like to sweat. I
Yeah,
hate to
it's
sweat. That's
fucking
what I always
disgusting,
say. Yeah.
man. I did, and
Yeah.
my hair gets all messed up. It's fucking horrible. So I liked swimming because see, she got it there. Because I was like in the water and I didn't sweat, so I liked that a lot. But then the
Yeah.
pandemic hit and I couldn't fucking swim. They shut down the gyms. That's when I started jogging. But
Yeah.
the lifting weights is awesome. If your husband does any of that at all, which he does with CrossFit, lifting weights, Jody's going with
Yeah.
me, and it's fantastic. I don't know if she
Mhm.
likes it as much as I
I'm
do.
hoping that I'm hoping that I like it. And I had lost like before the pandemic, I had lost just like diet without even exercising 'cause that's how much I hate to exercise. I had lost like 45 pounds and then I gained it all back and now I haven't been able to force myself to get on track again, but it's like I know I can do it. I did it
Hmm.
before, But I think that had I been working out at that time, then I probably would not have put it all back on.
Well, the other problem is carbs are freaking delicious. That's the other problem.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They can be
But
a
see, it's
problem.
funny, I don't eat bread because every time I tell people I don't eat bread, and they're like, "What? I would be so thin if I didn't eat bread." I'm like, "Nope, doesn't work that way."
It does initially, but it also depends on, I don't eat bread, but I use Pop Tarts instead. That doesn't work out well. My,
Yeah.
I get a sweet tooth, and if I have one little bit of sugar, we're kind of in this trend again recently over the last month. It's a bad thing where ice cream is the fucking
Oh my
devil
god,
for
see,
me.
that's
Oh,
that's my weak that's a weakness for me big
it's
time.
so good.
That is a weakness.
Like cookies were a deal for a while. Alyssa mentioned those. When I first started this channel, we I happened to mention to the crowd that don't mention to a bunch of women that you like cookies because suddenly my PO box was just,
Everybody.
dude, it was somebody my several people sent me boxes like 10-pound boxes just full of cookies and chocolate. It was amazing, and you can't not
Oh
eat
my
that.
gosh. No, of course not. I
Two
like
days.
cookies and chocolate, everyone. No.
You see, okay, it's out there,
Yeah,
everyone.
see? Yeah.
Right, Riley Hart has a PO box.
P.O.
Send
box,
her.
no.
Yeah, Tracy mentioned frozen yogurt. Yeah, in fact, there's a place around here called Wits, and it is fan fucking tastic. It's frozen yogurt, but when you eat a pint of it a day, it still gets you fat. That's there's no.
Yeah.
It's not like there's no vitamin C in that shit.
Yeah, exactly.
We've had more questions here. I'm afraid you're gonna have to go in after we're done at some point and look because I missed a shit ton of them here.
Okay,
I keep
that's
on
fine.
getting
Yeah.
locked into the conversation. Um, where this is such a lame question, but I don't actually know, so I'm going to ask it. Where do you live at?
North Carolina,
Okay,
Raleigh
excellent.
area.
Well, that would
We're
explain.
we've been here for like 4 years though. We came here from California, Southern California.
No shit. So you came
Mhm.
from what part of Southern California were you in?
We were in Riverside County. I don't know if you know
Mm.
California well, but it's between, I always tell people it's between LA and San Diego, but east. So,
Well, is that like
not by the water or anything, but
a
yeah.
lot of people say Southern California can be just about as redneck as the American South as well.
Yes, it depends on the area for sure. It definitely does. It depends on the area. And it was great for us while we were there. We were there, um, one, two, three, four. We moved there in 2004 from Oregon, small town in Oregon, which is where we met in high school. And so I was familiar with the small town thing from that. It took a lot of getting used to when I moved to Southern California. But then that was what I used to. And it was huge difference when we moved out here because I mean, it's the South. It's, just a different world. And the first year we were like, I don't know if we made the right decision, but we're happy here. So it's good. It's been good.
There, there's two things I need to unpack there. But first, high school sweethearts. Is that what you met your husband in high school?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, you don't see that
Yeah,
very
we've
often
been
anymore.
to I know. Yeah. That's so funny. Somebody just said that to us the other day when they found out. Yeah, we've been together over half of our lives.
That's well, we're hitting our 20-year anniversary here on the 12th. We've been together 25 years, so yeah, over half my life. I've
Mhm.
been with Jody more than I've
Yeah.
not been with Jody.
Yeah.
And two children, and you sound like you had children fairly early on in the relationship as well. That's a huge stressor when you're fresh out of high
Mhm.
school, 22, 23 years old, and you have a child, and at that point there's no more working on you for a while. It's all about the children.
Yeah.
That's hard
Mhm.
to survive in a relationship. So did you do like a Paul McCartney where you killed him and brought in somebody that looks just like him to replace him afterwards, or how?
Might have thought about it a few times. No, I don't know, man. We talk about that too. I don't know. It just works. It's just right. When it's right, it's right. I mean, I'm not going to
Mm.
pretend there haven't been hard times, But we just got lucky, and he's awesome. So,
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And you're a different person now, I'm sure, than you were when you were in your late teens and early 20s.
Way different, and we talk about that too because it is. We've both changed so much and grown, and so we're just lucky that we grew in the same direction, grew in the same ways because it very easily could have gone the other way. I think that when I look at myself when I was a teenager and I look at myself now, half of the things I do, I never would have thought that, that would have been me. So it's good, but we just got lucky and it
What
worked.
what's what were you? I would love to picture like Riley Hart in high school. And you were. It sounds like you were fairly close to in the same school as me, as far as what mid '90s, late '90s, somewhere in there is when you graduated high school, right?
Yeah, I graduated '98.
So were you like a punk rock kid? Were you like a cheerleader? What were you?
Oh god, not a cheerleader. I never would have had the courage to, I mean, even if I wanted to, which I didn't, but I did used to want to be on the dance team, but I was not that one who would have been brave enough to do that in front of people. Um, I was just I had a unique high school experience. I always say that. I had 98 kids in my graduating class, so it was very small. And I mean, there were different groups of course. There had to be, but it wasn't I think like you see on TV movies and like hear stories about, it wasn't very super, there were different groups, but when you went up and partied on the mountain on a Friday night, like everybody was there partying on the mountain on Friday night. It didn't matter who you were. So it was kind of different in that way, but I was very I was a mixture, man. I was like, I went through a little grungy phase where, I remember wearing my long john, what is it called? And I used to wear them under my
The flannel.
t-shirts,
Well, yeah, you had
like
like the
yeah.
flannel long john under. Yeah, yeah, like Nirvana things.
Yes, yes, I did. Yes, I did that. But I was also always like the people that I mostly hung out, we were like the ones that listened to rap and had the big bass in their cars, and everyone would be like, "Oh, there's those troublemakers," like that
Dude,
was us.
one of my best friends in high school was the drummer in my band. His dad bought him this old car, and I can't remember what it was. It was like an old muscle car. It was way fucking cool. Um, and he took like one of our monitors from our. We were in a band since we were kids, so we had speakers. So he took one of the monitors and he would transport it after practice and put it in his trunk. So he would have like a sub in there, and a whole old muscle car just thing to rattle and
Yes.
shit. But I'll never forget. I grew up in central Ohio, so it's cornfields and shit. That's what we got.
Mhm.
There are no street gangs here or anything. We're not. There's just not. It's not where we lived.
Yeah.
In graduating class would have been about 75 for me. I didn't graduate.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all those. But yeah, same kind of deal. So, anyways, Andy, he gets in this muscle car, and he's like corn-fed white boy. Gets in this muscle car immediately. First thing, moves his hat sideways and lays down in a seat like this.
See, that was my I'm serious, that was my friends, and the funny part is that, like, I grew up in a small town in Oregon, and so there were literally, like, there was, like, a Black family and me. Like, I was and so all of my friends were these, very white boys with the sideburn hat and these huge pants, and I used to have this friend, and he had the bass in his car and all that stuff, but he also had it lowered, and that we'd pile so many that it rubbed all the time, and so there'd be so many of us in the car, and you could like hear it, like it would like go across the ground, or like his wheels would like rub, and we were just like, we thought we were cool. That's all we cared about.
That is fantastic. By the
Yeah.
way, somebody said, "Wait a minute, Sandy said we're supposed to not wear thermals under your t-shirts." Wait, what? I agree. It's very comfortable.
You can, yeah. Yeah, no.
Well, so what you sound like you moved a lot. You went from Oregon to California to then to North Carolina. Was this a work thing with your husband, or did you just decide, fuck it, I want to move?
No, when we met, like I said, in high school, and then his family was from Southern California. He had moved there from Southern California, and my sister's husband's family was from Southern California too, and they lived in Colorado. We were in Oregon, and they ended up then moving to Southern California, and we had just had my oldest daughter. She was like 6 months old when we went down there, and we went down for a birthday party. for someone in my husband's family, and they just kind of were like, "You guys should move here. We can get you this job and all this stuff." And um, we really wanted to be close to people, having a new baby and all, and so we were like, "Let's do it." And we went home and we're like, "We're moving to California," and all our friends are like, "You're gonna hate it." Like, they were like they couldn't believe we were gonna move to California. But we did. I wouldn't have anything at the time. We rented this tiny apartment. We wouldn't have anything, so it didn't matter, and we just, gave notice on our jobs, and we moved in with his grandparents when we moved down there. And then we stayed there. So she was 8 months old when we actually moved, and then we stayed until she was, freshman in high school, so 14, almost 15, and then we then it was the opposite. We were like, "We need to get away from everybody," and
Yep.
I mean, love them, and that really isn't the whole thing, but we just wanted a different, I love California, but it's a hard life in some ways,
Hmm.
There's so much, not just how much everything costs, but traffic, and I feel like there's a lot of stress. And my oldest daughter was having trouble with kids in school and stuff, and so we just decided wanted to move. We didn't know where, so we just started randomly researching different places, and we went to a couple places, and then we came to Raleigh, and we were like, we like it, and we went home, put our house on the market, and moved across the country.
That is a beautiful thing. There is something to be said for because you grew up in a small town. Um,
Mhm.
you get used to that feeling. We're in the suburbs of not even really suburbs. We're in the country outside of Columbus, Ohio. Then the city is moving our way. When we moved here, it was a very small town feel. We weren't even in a town, but we had kind of a little neighborhood, a little cluster of houses around us, and you know everybody's name, you know their kids, our
Yeah.
kids play with your kids. Classes are small in school. I would imagine it's very different living in California. And
It was. It
yeah,
was, and I will say that was probably the beginning of some of the harder times because I grew up in that same type of, experience, and we had gone to school there, so we knew everybody and everybody knew us, and, I think that's why everyone was like, "You're gonna hate it. What are you thinking?" But, I feel like everybody needs to leave home for a little while,
fuck yeah.
and I really think that that's part of, we talk about how we grew and changed, and I really think that just getting out of that small sheltered world that I had been, that I had grown up in, and just meeting different people and seeing different things, and opening my worldview, and all of that, I think has to do with a lot of the way that we've grown through the years. But it was hard because I worked full time when I lived there. And I knew everybody. And then I came to Southern California and I was a stay at home mom for the first time and I knew no one. And Dom worked like 60 hours a week at least, if not more. And so it was hard. And I would had a baby at home. I'm gonna have to close those blinds because the sun is starting to like follow me. Um, but it was really kind of stressful at first. But it got better.
Yeah, well, and that obviously has influenced your writing. One other quick question here, and we're you've been fantastic. We've gone over already, so
Oh, okay.
the fuck, I lost my train of thought. See, that's exactly what's been happening to me over the course of the last couple of weeks. I just,
No, I do it all the time. My
well, then I
husband
guess
teases me because I used to never do it, and he's like, "What? You've been forgetting a lot." I'm like, "Leave me alone, I'm getting older."
just
I guess it
keep
was something
like
about small town, I think, I don't know.
yeah, I literally just had like an idea about a character that I'm voicing. I like literally just popped into my mind in the middle of your question. I was like, "That's how I can do that." And that's just the way that shit works.
It
It's
does. No, that's how I figure out writing stuff all the I could sit there and think forever and be like, "Oh my gosh, I have to figure this out, I have to figure," and I, like, stress myself out, and then as soon as I stop thinking and do something else, it's just magically there.
well, I had this this happened last week. It happens occasionally to me where I will have a brilliant idea. I think for a character voice when we work in first person, all narrators go through this. When we work in first person, you only have you're doing a multiple POV book. You can't just have your natural speaking voice for both POVs.
Yeah.
You have to change it up a bit. You get into
Mm,
a series where you have 7 books in a series, well, that means there's at least 14 different character voices that you're going to have to speak in for a long period of time and sound natural. I'm not bitching, I'm not complaining. That's a gig and I love it and
No.
I'm good at it. But the trick is sounding natural. So I had a book last week. I recorded 2 finished hours, something like that, and then stopped. And I was like, this is. Turns out Jack Nicholson doesn't sound sexy. That's where I was going with the character voice. My character voice was going there the entire time, and it just yeah, baby, fuck me. It just does not do it. So like, I got into it and I was like, all right, we're gonna have to redo this shit. But yeah, I'm trying to avoid that in the book I'm working on currently. So I was like, wait a minute,
Huh.
I got it. I got where I can go and it can sound unique and different. But sorry, that's where I went with it.
That's
You've been fantastic. Everybody watching, I'm sorry, I've gotten locked into these shows lately where I get locked into a conversation and I don't pay a lot of attention to our comments. I'm sorry about that. But Riley, if you could, are you in the Beer
Yeah, I'm
Brigade
in the
group?
group, yeah.
Excellent.
Mhm.
If you could look through and answer questions, which I missed, that'd be fantastic. And obviously, this is going to be up on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. And you're going to be at GRL. Oh, one question I did
Yeah.
miss. Is your
Mhm.
husband coming to GRL or is it just you?
No, just me.
Excellent. I don't blame him one bit. They would throng him. They would get around him. It's so. Thank you. This is the easy part. All you got to do is wave to the camera and say bye to the crowd.
Bye. Thanks for having me.